Hi, this is Ari. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to our new friends, Best Day Yet, and their wonderful podcast. I highly recommend you check them out.
Best Day Yet!
Hi, I'm Marjorie, host of Best Day Yet, an affirmation podcast for kids. On Best Day Yet, we teach kids mindful breathing and positive self-talk skills in the most kid-friendly way possible. We take affirmation adventures all over the world and meet animals who teach us lessons about ourselves. Like the time we went to India and met a tiger who taught us,
There is no one better to be than me.
or the time we went to the moon and met water bears, we learned,
When things get hard, I don't back down.
or the time we walked through a spooky forest at night and found bats who showed us.
I have nothing to be afraid of.
Check out Best Day Yet wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you there.
Welcome to the martial arts episode, the one that started with a kid that wanted to be on the on-stage episode with Taekwondo as his special act, and ended up with me joining a martial art myself. Have you ever taken a martial art before? Do you even know what kind of martial arts there are? And what kind of things you learn from practicing them? Well, we're here to explore, right? As always, I'm your host, Ari Kelly, and this is the martial arts episode. Let's meet our first guest.
Hi, my name is Anya, and I am 8 years old, and I do karate in Peabody.
Very cool. So let's jump right in. Why did you choose karate and not a different martial art?
Because my brother was gonna do it. We went to the studio. It was the wrong day. And there were tryouts on the day. It was a Thursday. And I'm like, can I do it? And then we went, and I loved it. So
Wow, funny story.
I know.
So, I heard you just got a belt.
Yes, I'm yellow.
That is very cool. Can you tell me
I
about
have to do a 3-minute plank. I got a cookie after that.
A cookie for a belt.
Well, I went to the Piazza, which is right next door, and my mom owns the place, so I got a cookie.
Very well-earned cookie.
Yes.
What did you have to do to earn the belt?
Well, we had to practice our kata. It's almost like a dance, except you're doing all these strikes and stuff. It's really cool. And then we also had to do Japanese words and the plank.
You have to do Japanese words. That's funky. I haven't heard of that yet.
My favorite is probably Musubi Dachi and Heiko Dachi. Parallel stance and Tansen stance.
So, what other than kicks and punches have you learned from doing karate?
We actually use nunchakus, aka nunchucks.
That's cool.
Padded. Pretty fun.
I see. Do you remember we played a little game called Musician or Food? Where you had to guess if cavatelli is a composer or a type of pasta? I gotta give credit where credit is due, and shout out to the BSO's James Markey. We played it with his kids in both the food and music episode. But how about martial arts or food? Do you think you can tell the difference? I asked Anya to play with me. I'll try to put a few extra pauses so you have time to guess too. Here goes. Tonkotsu.
Tonkotsu?
Yes. Hey, you, listeners, are you playing along? What do you think? Do you think it's a martial art or a food?
A food.
Correct. Tonkotsu is not only a food, but it's my favorite type of ramen. Korita.
Karita.
Can you guess this one? Do.
Martial art.
Correct. Korita is a style of folk wrestling based on Aboriginal combat before Australia was colonized. Gatka. Have you all heard of a certain phrase called buying time? Well, I'm doing it right now. Got an answer for me?
Martial arts.
Correct. Wow, you're good at this. Gatka is an Indian martial art that uses wooden sticks. Burekas.
Martial arts.
Is it correct or incorrect? Incorrect. That is a food. So bureka sounds like it could be a martial art, but when my mom yells to us that it's ready on an extra fun weekend morning, it's a delicious Israeli pastry made with phyllo dough. Capoeira.
Food?
Incorrect.
Oh.
It's a martial art. Capoeira is a martial art. It was derived from traditions brought to Brazil by enslaved Africans. It became a way for them to escape and gain their freedom, both physically and mentally. Kinomichi. La-di-da, la-di-do. I like buying you time. How about you? Kinomichi.
Food.
Incorrect is a martial art.
Gah.
Kinomichi is also a martial art. It was developed from the Japanese art Aikido in the tradition of Budo and founded in Paris, France in 1979. Feijoada. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Fajita. Feijoada. Ah, the sound of buying time. Kind of quiet, isn't it? Feijoada. I think I pronounced it.
Sounds like a food. A lot.
It is a food. It's a Brazilian stew of beans with beef and pork. Gravlax. Feel like you had enough time yet? Gravlax.
Martial arts.
Incorrect. It is a food. Gravlax, or grave salmon, is a Nordic dish consisting of salmon that is cured using salt, sugar, and dill. Salt, sugar, and dill. My favorite. Burgu.
Okay. It's like okay, it bird. Let's see. Martial arts.
Correct? Is it not correct? Incorrect. It is a food.
I laughed at that one. It sounded like something else.
I thought it sounded like one of two things: booger or burger. I don't know why.
Bird poop.
Burgu? Yeah, actually. So burgu, not to be confused with bird poo, is actually a simmered stew made from vegetables and meats. Okay, we got one last one. Muay Thai. Buying time, buying time. I like buying time. Yes, I do. Muay Thai.
Oh, that's a food.
Incorrect. That is a martial art.
What?
I know, that one's difficult. Muay Thai is a martial art, and we'll touch on this art of the 8 limbs in our nerd out. How'd you do? Did you have fun? That's all that matters. Before we meet our final guest, I gotta share my nerd out with you. Because as you may or may not know, there are a lot of martial arts out there. I found a list, and apparently there's 180 plus on just that list. We're not going to go over all of them, but let's take a peek and see what some of them even are. We'll start with one that I found quite interesting. It's called Bacom. It's a Peruvian martial art that was created in the slums of Peru. And by the way, Peruvian means from Peru. The part that's interesting to me is that it combines 2 fighting styles, Jujitsu and street fighting. Cool, huh? That's assuming we know what Jujitsu and street fighting are. So, Jujitsu is basically a martial art that focuses on defeating stronger opponents with a flexible fighting strategy. But I found out there is both Brazilian Jujitsu that focuses more on ground fighting and takedowns, and traditional Japanese Jujitsu that focuses on throwing opponents and joint manipulation. I mean, that's 2 big ones right there. Now, street fighting, well, even if you didn't officially know what it is, you already kind of know. It's however you fight naturally. I imagine a movie scene of a bar fight.
Now commencing Ari's reenactment of a bar fight. Our protagonist accidentally bumps into a comedically buff man.
Hey, bub, that was mean. Let's step outside.
Our guy shakes his head and says no, but the man starts to line up his fists like Wacko from the Animaniacs and backhands him in the face. Our fearful hero then runs out of the bar, spinning his feet rapidly so it looks like a cartoon.
Okay, back to the martial arts. Let's see what else looks good. Pardon my pronunciation, but I thought Araki Ryu sounded good. This martial art has an entire system specializing in the use and application of many traditional Japanese weapons, like spears, glaives, and long and short swords. Remember in the food or martial art game we mentioned Muay Thai? It's pretty much boxing, but in Thailand, and you use a technique called clinching. They're really into this there, and while Thailand was my absolute favorite country to visit, I didn't get to see a match because my parents thought it was too violent. What about Taekwondo? Fun fact, my brother is actually learning this one. Taekwondo is a Korean martial art. Ben says it literally means the way of kicking and punching in Korean. I see him practicing spin kicks, roundhouse kicks, wheel kicks, and the scariest, axe kicks. What about Capoeira? I mentioned it in our martial arts or food game too. It's got some pretty interesting history if you want to learn more about it. One interesting fact I found on Britannica.com is that Capoeira is a dance martial art. Yep, you heard me, it's an art in an art. But here's the thing. It was very deadly because in the history of Capoeira, they used to strap blades on their feet or put little baby blades between their toes. Yikes. We're covering a lot of ground. I gotta highlight just one more in this nerd out. It is probably the most popular one. Karate. I learned that Anya would be called a Karateka. According to the website Difference Between, this martial art originated in Okinawa, Japan, and the word karate is a combination of two Japanese characters. Kara, meaning empty, and te, meaning hand. In karate, the body and hands are made hard and tough in order to withstand and break any hard object. Menacing. Okay, I lied. I got one more. Sort of. Ready for a funky one? Kajukenbo. It's a combination of all sorts of martial arts. The name Kajukenbo comes from 5 different martial arts. Ka for karate, Ju for judo or jujitsu, Ken for kenpo, and Bo for boxing. Now I'm wondering, if you choose to learn this, do you have to learn all the others or just their special blend? Okay, that's all for now. Ari out. So after the nerd out, I got interested in trying a martial art myself. If you had to guess, what martial art do you think I picked? Which one sounded the coolest to you? Well, one thing I found out is that some things you gotta see with your own eyes and feel with your own body. Because nerding out is great for writing and for rad podcasts, but I'll just tell you. Right after I finished putting the nerd out together, I thought Capoeira would be my thing. And it might be yours, but after checking out a few places, the one that clicked for me was... Alright guys! Remember, as you learned in the last episode, I'm a little rough. Jujitsu! So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our next guest. Her name is Isabella. She is 10 years old. She assists kids in her mom's class, and her dad is the owner of The Lab. Why do you think Jujitsu is special?
Well, I think Jujitsu is special because it really shows people that no matter how hard you try, there's always something more you can learn.
That's a very good answer. How long have you been practicing Jujitsu?
I've been doing Jujitsu for around 4 years now.
So how does it stand out from other martial arts?
I think Jujitsu is different from other martial arts because whenever you are on the mats, it shows that you don't really need to use your fists to fight. It shows that you need technique, and strength doesn't really matter.
I like that answer. How does practicing Jujitsu make you feel?
I think doing Jujitsu makes me feel like I'm kind of in a happier stage because I know that I'm always learning new things.
Really cool. So another cool thing is that you help. How do you do that?
I help by just trying to be really cheerful and making it fun for the kids to learn. It's a little bit hard to show deep attention for the younger kids, but I feel like you just need joy to make it easy.
Do you remember the Riddle Me This from the last episode? Did you get a chance to guess any of them? Don't worry if you didn't. I'm going to read them to you again. But this time, I'll also play you the answers our guests from the last episode guessed. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, you might want to check out the Cats vs. Dogs episode first. It has a lot of games we made up in it. Okay, you ready? The first one's pretty easy. These are riddles that I will read you, okay?
Okay.
These are also involving cats and dogs.
Okay.
Okay, so his cartoonist grandpa had his name. This orange lasagna lover has no shame.
You know this guy.
He kicks Odie.
Garfield.
Yep.
Garfield?
Yes.
Yes.
He travels to undo a rip in time for this brainy canine. I have no rhyme.
You know, that rings a bell, but I don't know if I know that. I know it. It's on the tip of my tongue. 5, 4, 3, 2. I don't know. I can't remember.
Travels in time. All I can think of is Rip Van Winkle, but in a dog or a cat. I don't know what the name is.
Time traveling dog?
Wait, I think I know this, but I can't remember his name. It's a movie, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, and they go in time travel, and there's like a mess up in time where like there's this kid in it.
Yeah, you got it pretty much. Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Yes.
Okay, it is Mr. Peabody.
Oh, yes, it is. Of course
From
it is.
Mr. Peabody and
Yes.
Sherman.
Yes. No, I totally know who you're talking about now.
Okay, last one. This fairy tale reveals his value. In his footgear, he'll beguile you.
Okay, can you repeat that?
Okay, so this fairy tale reveals his value. In his footgear, he'll beguile you.
Is it Boots?
Hmm?
Is it in Boots?
Yes, that is correct.
It's a cat that wears footwear.
Puss in Boots.
Yep. I don't think.
No, I feel like I know that, but yeah, Puss in Boots.
Yes, that is correct. Oh, but that's not it for the Riddle Me This. Do you want to solve more riddles? Our very first kid riddle was submitted by Inez. She lives in Germany and has submitted some awesome stuff on the website, but the sound quality came through a bit bumpy, so bear with us. And Inez, thank you so much, and I hope we can have you on in another episode.
I see 1 green car, 1 yellow car, 1 purple car, and 1 white car. How many cars do I see?
How many cars do you think Inez saw? You can submit your answer on the big mic on atyourlevelpod.com or email me a voice memo at atyourlevelpod@gmail.com.
Hello again, it's me, Lily, and I have got a riddle for you this time. I actually have 2, so what building has the most stories is the first one, and the second riddle is I can't go left, I can't go right. I am forever stuck in a building over 3 stories high. What am I? Bye.
Thank you, Lily. I personally don't know what the answer to the second one is. I hope one of you do. And last but not least, here's Ava.
Okay, so I have a riddle. The riddle is, Ronald is in a storm. And since Ronald is in a storm, the power went out and it's a very, very big storm. So, there are 3 doors, and one of which he can escape from. So you have to choose which door. The first door has loads of alligators ready to eat him. The second door has bloodthirsty vampires. And the third door has an electric floor ready to shock you to your death. Which one does he pick?
Man, I hope you guys can solve this one. I'm thinking Ronald is maybe not a human, but I don't actually know the answer. Keep the riddles coming, guys. Solve or record new ones. Pretty please. Remember I've told you about the Story Seeds podcast and the summer camp for kid podcasters they're putting together? Well, it's coming up. There is still room to join, and I'm getting ready to give my presentation. I'm excited for it. I put a link in the show notes. So if you want to join me and some pretty awesome kid presenters, there are workshops, a mini camp, and even a full-on intensive camp. So if you're interested in podcasting and you're a kid, I hope I get to meet you there. One more thing I will say about Story Seeds, which is the host of this summer camp, is that they are categorized as a feel-good podcast. We love that so much, and we want to be in that category too. Anyways, I hope you check out their camp, their podcast, and hey, I hope you're feeling good listening right now. Because you know what's next? We haven't solved our ASMR yet. So let's start with the ASMR. You ready?
All right, let me try. All right, I'm on it.
Okay, so can you click the dogs versus cats bizarre ASMR?
That's very satisfying. I like that.
What do you think that is, a dog or a cat?
That's a cat.
You think so?
Yeah.
Cat.
The first question I will ask you is, do you think it's a cat or a dog?
Cat. Definitely a cat.
By the way, you're hearing the voices of Hank and Phoebe, Michelle, and our family vet, Dr. Mahoney, all of whom you met in the last episode. Along with Anya. You can hear her dad, Dave, a little too. Do you think it's a cat or a dog?
I think it's a cat purring.
Take a listen to that one. Not so. Is that a little kitty? Is that a cat?
This one actually has 3 parts to it. So, one being, is it a cat or a dog? Do you think it's a cat or a dog?
It's either a pug or a cat.
Okay, well, technically, since you said pug first, I'll go and give you that.
Okay.
It is a dog.
What?
This is a 3-part bizarre ASMR. Basically, the first part is deciding whether it's a cat or a dog. It is a dog. All right, the second part is, what noise is it making?
It's making like a purring sound or a snoring sound.
It's not really a whimpering sound. It's like a creak. Is he chewing?
It's like they're crying for food.
One more guess, and then I'll tell you.
Okay. Sleeping? Snoring?
If it's a dog, growl?
Yep, a very low growl, kind of like, I'm not even going to try to demonstrate it, because that will be so embarrassing. But yeah, it's actually growling. Okay, now for the last question.
That's a low growl. Okay.
I know. And lastly, what dog breed is it? I'll give you this. It's a small dog. Oh my gosh, little dog. I see a little dog there.
Can I show this? This is Ruby.
That is a very small dog.
I know.
Oh my god, it's so fluffy.
Ruby. I call her Flip Flop. A Cavapoo. I have a Cavapoo.
Cool. But what dog breed do you think that ASMR is?
The noise was, what dog breed do you think it was?
It's a small breed. I'll tell you that.
A Cavapoo or a Poodle?
I would think like a pug or a Boston Terrier or something like that.
Okay, so you have one more guess. You have one more guess.
Or something maybe little.
Yeah, it's a small dog.
Is it your dog?
Nope, it is not Nova.
Oh, I don't know. Sounds like a little smooshy face dog.
Let's see. Let me try to hear it again. What kind? It sounds like a small dog.
Exactly, but what dogs are small that could make such a low growl?
I don't know. Chihuahua.
No, not incorrect. Correct. You got that correct. What type of dog is it?
I think it's Ari's dog.
I will tell you, it is not Nova.
Not Nova.
Pug.
I'll give you 3 guesses. That's generous.
That is generous.
Lab.
How about you come up with this one, Hank? Do you know dog breeds?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint. It's small.
Chihuahua.
Yep.
You got it.
Nice job.
Chihuahua?
Correct.
Is it?
It's Chihuahua. It's a
Oh,
Chihuahua
I was going to say
making
it's a little dog.
Yeah, it's a Chihuahua making a very low growl.
Well, I haven't ever had a Chihuahua, so this is a stretch. Most of my dogs have been like bigger, 40 pounds and up. So interesting. Okay.
Let us do the martial arts bazaar, ASMR. We're going to guess what martial art it is.
Direction.
Okay.
Here you go. So what kind of martial art do you think this is?
Okay, can I try?
Yep.
So sometimes I record the ASMRs myself, but both this martial art sound and the Chihuahua growling sound were from freesound.org, so I wanted to give them a quick shout out. Do you think you can guess what martial art this episode's ASMR is? Record yourself. Just a little reminder that we are on Patreon, so if you want to do me a solid and support this podcast, it would mean so much to me and my mom. It's at patreon.com/atyourlevel. And if putting this podcast for you isn't awesome enough, we really work it for our Patreon members. This episode's art kit had a little build-your-own martial arts game with little geese for the figurines. Every month, you get a fun new creative set that goes along with the episode. Thank you, dear listeners. Without you, there would be no At Your Level. So thank you for listening, and I hope to hear from you and meet you and interview you. And if you leave me a 5-star review and tell me what you like best, like what's your favorite segment, I'll make sure to put more of that in. Thank you, Oliver, for reaching out and inspiring this episode. Thank you, Anya, for being on again. I loved your bad dad joke for the pets episode. And I loved meeting you and learning all about your cookie earning and karateing. Thank you, Isabella, and the lab in Dedham, Massachusetts. I loved meeting you so much. I'll be seeing you soon, probably before this episode even comes out. I put a link in the show notes for any of you listeners that might want to go check out some Brazilian Jujitsu. They've got kickboxing there too. And as always, I'm grateful for all the original music by my brother Ben and my mom, my silent partner. As you learned in the embarrassing parent episode, she's not really the silent type. So yeah, thanks a million. You know the drill. I'm your host, Ari Kelly, and At Your Level is a production of Art and Light Society.